Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Smackdown and AEW Rampage review. Smackdown tonight was from the Amway Center in Orlando, while Rampage was taped from the TD Garden in Boston. And Smackdown tonight, the show was terrible. Show was absolutely awful. Nothing really happened on the show tonight, aside from the rules of engagement segment between the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns and JEY USO. We had a Fatal 4-Way United States Invitational match where the winner will get to face Santos Escobar next week, and the winner of that match next week will face Austin Theory for the United States Championship. So if you remember, last week, Santos Escobar ended up winning against Grayson Waller, Butch, and AJ Styles in that United States Championship Invitational match. So we had the other match tonight where it was Rey Mysterio versus Sheamus versus LA Knight, yeah, and Cameron Grimes to the moon. So yeah, it was the Fatal 4-Way United States Championship Invitational match. We also had Charlotte Flair versus Iyo Sky, Santos Escobar versus Austin Theory, and the NXT North American Championship was on the line. Why is the NXT North American Championship being defended on SmackDown when they could have did this on Tuesday? This Tuesday on NXT. So yeah, Dominik Mysterio, he defended the NXT North American Championship. He won the title this past Tuesday on NXT by defeating Wes Lee. Wes Lee was the former NXT North American champion. So Dominik defended the title against Butch, and pretty much that was SmackDown tonight. Overall, awful show it was. But anyways, let's jump right into the review. SmackDown opened up tonight with the Fatal 4-Way United States Championship Invitational match. Rey Mysterio versus Sheamus versus LA Knight, yeah, and Cameron Grimes to the moon. And when the match started, we saw Austin Theory. He was seated at ringside. Austin Theory, United States Champion. And also NXT superstars were present in the crowd tonight. So we saw Wes Lee and also Dragon Lee, from NXT. They were shown in the crowd. So we had, the superstars make their way out. Rey Mysterio ended up coming out. Sheamus, and then LA Knight came out. LA Knight got the biggest pop tonight, and he had a mic in hand, and he got on the mic, and he was like, "Let me talk to you." So the crowd was chanting for LA Knight. The guy is so over with the crowd, and WWE, they still consider LA Knight as a heel, even though he's getting babyface reactions, from the crowd cheering him on, being so over with them. And yeah, they still consider him a heel. A joke. If he's considered a heel, the crowd would be booing the hell out of him. But look, the crowd is giving him, reactions, babyface reactions. So he ended up saying that SummerSlam is right around the corner, and it's called the biggest party of the summer. Yeah. So LA Knight ended up saying that he wants to go to a party that involves him taking the United States Championship. He ended up saying that tonight we'll see some stepping stone action. So pretty much that was basically what LA Knight had to say. The crowd ended up doing L.A. Knight, yeah. So then the match got underway, which this was a decent Fatal 4-Way here. Of course, the winner of this match will face Santos Escobar next week on SmackDown, and the winner of that match will face Austin Theory for the United States Championship. So the match got underway. A brawl ended up breaking out between the guys. So Rey Mysterio and Cameron Grimes started, concentrating on each other. LA Knight and Sheamus end up going at it. So Grimes end up knocking Mysterio out of the ring. Knight knocked Sheamus off the apron and into the commentary table. Cameron Grimes then ended up trying to attack LA Knight, but LA Knight ended up sending Grimes over the top rope as the crowd just started loudly chanting LA Knight's name. So then as SmackDown came back from the commercial, Sheamus ran over LA Knight with a shoulder tackle. So Cameron Grimes then ended up sending Rey into the LED barricade. LA Knight then clotheslined Sheamus down, and Knight ended up going for the cover, to which Sheamus ended up kicking out. Sheamus ended up stunning Knight with a punch to his midsection, which was followed up by a rolling fireman's carry senton. So Sheamus ended up sending Knight into the ropes. Knight ducked the clothesline from Sheamus, and Knight ended up taking Sheamus down with a back elbow. Sheamus ended up pulling himself up on the ropes and sent Knight to the apron. Sheamus then elbowed Knight down. Cameron Grimes then ended up attacking Sheamus from behind, but Sheamus knocked Grimes into the ropes. Rey then ended up sending Cameron Grimes back into the ropes, and Grimes came back, ended up hitting LA Knight, which sent LA Knight to ringside. So then Sheamus and Rey ended up hitting both Knight and Grimes with the 10 beats of the Bodhrán, which that was pretty cool. So Sheamus and Rey high-fived in the ring. Rey ended up trying to blindside Sheamus. Sheamus ended up standing, and he pulled Rey to his feet. Sheamus then scooped Rey up. Rey ended up sliding off of Sheamus, and Rey drop-kicked Sheamus in the knee to put him into position for the 619. So Rey hit the ropes for the 619. Sheamus countered that with a tilt-a-wall backbreaker to Rey. Sheamus then put Rey on his shoulders. Cameron Grimes ended up taking Sheamus out with a diving clothesline off the top rope. So Grimes then started to kick both Sheamus and Rey in the chest. Knight ended up getting in the ring. Grimes ended up greeting LA Knight with a step-up enziguri. Rey then tried to attack Cameron Grimes, but Grimes ended up planting Rey with a side slam. Grimes ended up going for the cover on Rey, but Sheamus ended up pulling Grimes off and punched Grimes to the corner. So Sheamus then lifted Grimes. Grimes slid off of Sheamus, and Grimes ended up kicking Sheamus against the ropes. Grimes hit the ropes, but Sheamus ended up hitting a clothesline to Grimes. Sheamus then followed up with an Irish Curse backbreaker to Grimes. LA Knight ended up going after Sheamus, but Sheamus sent LA Knight out of the ring. Knight then pulled Sheamus out of the ring and backs him into the apron. LA Knight then ended up hitting a back suplex to Sheamus on the apron. So Knight then ended up attacking Grimes. Rey hit LA Knight with a baseball slide, and he ended up getting him into the ring. Rey ended up going up to the top rope, but LA Knight swept Rey's feet. Knight ended up going for a superplex, but Sheamus ended up cutting it off. Sheamus then climbed the ropes, but he slipped off to the canvas. Grimes ended up charging at Sheamus, but Sheamus ended up getting Grimes in a powerbomb position. Sheamus then powerbombs Grimes, who ended up grabbing LA Knight, and then Knight ended up superplexing Rey, which that was pretty awesome. So later on in the match, we had Austin Theory. He ended up pulling Rey out of the ring because Rey ended up hitting Cameron Grimes with a springboard splash, and he went for the cover. That led to Austin Theory pulling Rey out of the ring. So Theory sent Rey into the ring steps. So then Santos Escobar ran down. Escobar ended up attacking Theory. Escobar and Theory brawled into the crowd and to the back. LA Knight ended up hitting Grimes with a big elbow drop. Sheamus then ended up hitting Knight with a bro kick. Grimes then ended up catching Sheamus with a cave-in. Mysterio then ended up hitting Grimes with the Hurricanrana into a cradle. And so there you go. Rey Mysterio ended up winning the match. So next week, we're going to be seeing Santos Escobar versus Rey Mysterio. Why? This is babyface versus babyface. WWE fucked up here with not having LA Knight win this match. We could have had a good match between LA Knight and Santos Escobar, but WWE went with Rey Mysterio. But you already tell who was booking this. If Triple H was booking this, he would have had, without a doubt, LA Knight win this match. But you can tell Vince McMahon booked this, having Rey win it. Oh yeah, let's not have LA Knight win this match because, oh, he's so over with the crowd. And you know Vince McMahon. So then Escobar returned to the ring post-match. He celebrated with Rey. Both guys end up shaking hands. And, they're going to go at it next week. The winner of that match will face Austin Theory for the United States Championship. Overall, this was a decent Fatal 4-Way. But Rey Mysterio winning the match, I'm like, it should have been LA Knight. And then, as SmackDown came back from the commercial, we saw the Cavender twins. They're in NXT. They haven't debuted on NXT yet, so I don't know why they had them sitting, ringside. As the Cavender twins are going to be the next Bella twins. So, who knows? They probably might be better than the Bellas. So we saw JEY USO. He was walking backstage. And then we also saw backstage Tony D'Angelo and Lorenzo with the Creed brothers. They're part of NXT, so they were there. I like Tony D'Angelo. He's one of my favorite NXT superstars, there. He's that entertaining. And then we saw Austin Theory. Austin Theory ended up walking up to Adam Pearce. Theory was furious, and he told Adam Pearce that Santos Escobar attacked him and that he wants a match against Santos Escobar. Adam Pearce ended up saying that it should be for the United States Championship. So Theory ended up saying Santos Escobar doesn't deserve a United States Championship match. So Adam Pearce then made the match official. Why? We're getting Santos Escobar versus Rey Mysterio next week. So pretty much that match for next week just confirmed that Rey Mysterio is going to be Santos Escobar. This made no fucking sense. Rey Mysterio will win the match next week. Rey will face Austin Theory for the United States Championship. And lo and behold, my prediction, Austin Theory is going to retain the United States Championship. WWE just spoiled the match for next week. So then we went back to ringside and we saw Carmelo Hayes, the NXT champion, and Trick Williams were shown at ringside. Carmelo Hayes is another one that I like in NXT. The guy should be, main roster bound, but we all know what happened that one time on Monday Night Raw, with Carmelo Hayes losing. So that's an indication if Carmelo Hayes came to Monday Night Raw, came to the main roster, we all know how that would go. Just by that one match that he lost on Monday Night Raw. And then we saw Charlotte Flair versus Iyo Sky. So we also saw another NXT superstar in the crowd, Tiffany Stratton, who is the NXT Women's Champion. Another one who I'm a fan of. Love Tiffany Stratton. When she comes to the main roster, she is going to be big, in my opinion. But knowing Vince McMahon, whenever Tiffany Stratton comes up to the main roster, we don't know how Vince is going to treat her. But Tiffany Stratton, who knows? She will be a star on the main roster. But knowing Vince, who knows? But she had a dark match. Tiffany Stratton had a dark match from what I saw online before Smackdown went live. But we had the match. Iyo Sky was accompanied by Bayley, of course, to which Bayley was injured at a house show. I saw the video online of that where Bayley was running and her knee gave out, and Jessica Carr, who was the referee of the match, ended up throwing up the X symbol, meaning that they're injured, that they can't go on, with the match. So, but from the looks of it here, Bayley, walked, pretty good here tonight, and I guess that injury that happened at the house show, wasn't anything serious, because, if she was that, injured, she wouldn't have been on the show tonight. But she was on commentary for the match, trashing Michael Cole. But the match itself, it was an okay match here. Both Charlotte and Iyo end up locking up. Charlotte ended up powering Iyo into the corner. Iyo climbed to the second rope. She jumped down for an arm drag, but Charlotte countered with a cartwheel. Both women end up locking up again. Charlotte pulled Iyo into a side headlock. Iyo ended up pushing Charlotte off. Charlotte ended up delivering a shoulder tackle to Iyo. Charlotte then hit the ropes, and Iyo Sky ended up dropping down. Charlotte ended up doing 2 cartwheels, and she ended up showing Iyo Sky up. Sky ended up hitting the ropes. Charlotte ended up leapfrogging Iyo, and then ended up dropping down. Iyo cartwheeled over Charlotte twice. So Charlotte and Iyo hit the ropes. Iyo ended up drop kicking Charlotte in her knee to take her down. Charlotte then blocked another kick from Iyo. Iyo ended up booting Charlotte back, started punching away at her. Iyo ended up sending Charlotte into the corner, but Charlotte ended up rolling up the turnbuckles, and she ended up booting Iyo Sky down, just like, her father, Ric Flair. So Charlotte ended up going to the top rope, and she connected with a flying crossbody block on Iyo. Charlotte then attacked Iyo in the corner. She ended up going for a slam. Iyo ended up sliding off of Charlotte. She ended up drop kicking Charlotte in her knee. So Iyo ended up knocking Charlotte back, ended up hitting a springboard drop kick. She ended up going for the cover, and Charlotte ended up kicking out. So we had Iyo Sky end up going for a drop kick. Charlotte ended up avoiding that. Charlotte ended up going for a plancha, but Bayley distracted Charlotte. So Iyo ended up avoiding the plancha. She ended up hitting Charlotte with a hurricanrana on the floor. And then SmackDown went to commercial. So then, as SmackDown came back from the commercial, Charlotte and Bayley were just, trash talking each other. Charlotte ended up getting Iyo in the ring, and she ended up attacking, Iyo's leg. Iyo ended up avoiding a knee to the leg. She ended up hitting Charlotte with a running double knee in the corner. Iyo ended up going for the cover, to which Charlotte kicked out. Iyo then applied a modified crossface to Charlotte, but Charlotte powered up, ended up hitting a back suplex to Iyo. So Charlotte and Iyo began trading punches. Iyo ended up drop kicking Charlotte in her knee. So Iyo ended up sending Charlotte into the ropes. She ended up lowering her head, and she ended up eating a kick from Charlotte. Charlotte ended up hitting, the chops to Io's chest. Iyo ended up charging, but Charlotte ended up catching Iyo, and she ended up walking around the ring with Iyo. She then ended up hitting a fallaway slam to Iyo. Charlotte then kicked up. Charlotte then ended up hitting a cartwheel into a clothesline to Iyo. She ended up going for the cover, to which Iyo ended up kicking out. So yeah, later on, Bayley got up from the commentary table. She distracted Charlotte. Iyo ended up bouncing Charlotte off the top turnbuckle, and she ended up hitting a sunset flip into a sit-out powerbomb to Charlotte, to which Charlotte ended up kicking out. So then, all of a sudden, Shotzi appeared on the Titantron, and she was calling for Bayley. Scissors were heard cutting, hair. So Bayley was looking worried. She started to look around, all paranoid, if Shotzi was going to be there. So Bayley walked off and apologized to Iyo. Iyo wasn't happy about that. So Iyo ended up going to the top rope. Charlotte ended up ripping Iyo off. Charlotte then ended up charging at Iyo, but Iyo ended up sending Charlotte headfirst into the middle turnbuckle. Iyo ended up going for over the moonsault, but Charlotte moved out of the way. Charlotte ended up going for a moonsault, but Iyo ended up getting a boot up. Iyo ended up hitting a head scissor into a crossface on Charlotte. So Charlotte started fighting that. So Iyo rolled Charlotte for a pin, and Charlotte ended up kicking out. So we had Iyo ended up going to the top rope. She ended up going for a missile drop kick. Charlotte ended up catching Iyo and applied the Lion Tamer. Iyo ended up getting out and rolled Charlotte up for a 2 count. Iyo quickly ended up rocking Charlotte with a basement drop kick. So at the end of the match, we had Charlotte end up hitting the natural selection on Iyo Sky, and she ended up going for the cover. And there you go. Charlotte ended up winning the match. No surprise there. Post-match, Asuka ended up attacking Charlotte from behind. She ended up delivering a German suplex to Charlotte. Asuka then ended up hitting a running knee to Charlotte's face, and then she applied an armbar on Charlotte. So the ref ended up having to pull Asuka off, and Asuka ended up celebrating with the title. So pretty much that was that. So Asuka's going to defend the title against Charlotte Flair and Bianca Belair in a triple threat match at SummerSlam in 2 weeks. So that was that. But overall, okay match between Charlotte and Iyo Sky. Of course, Shotzi appearing on a Titantron, Bayley, looking worried. Shotzi, if you remember last week, Shotzi ended up, shaving her head. And there's a reason, behind that is because Shotzi's sister, sadly, was diagnosed with cancer. So that is one of the reasons why, Shotzi ended up shaving her head, last week from what we saw. But prayers to Shotzi's sister. And then we saw Kayla Braxton. Kayla Braxton was backstage with Dominik, the NXT North America champion, and the Women's World Champion, Rhea Ripley. Dominik ended up telling Kayla Braxton that he wants to show his deadbeat dad, Ray, what a real champion looks like. He ended up saying that even if his father wins his match next week and goes on to win the United States Championship, he'll only be the champion of the United States. So Dominik ended up saying that he is the champion of all of North America with 23 countries. So then Butch ended up walking up to Dominik. Butch ended up wanting Dominik to put the North American Championship on the line against him. So Dominik ended up saying that he is not dressed to compete and his title is not shined up. So then Shawn Michaels ended up walking up. Of course, Shawn Michaels, WWE Hall of Famer. He's also the authority figure of NXT. He books NXT. So Shawn Michaels ended up saying that sounds like an excellent match for SmackDown. So Shawn Michaels made the match official for Butch and Dominik with the NXT North American Championship on the line. Why was this even booked on the show tonight? We couldn't see the match this upcoming Tuesday on NXT? What the fuck are we doing here? This could have been done this Tuesday night. So then we had Bayley. Bayley pulled Iyo Sky in the locker room, and Bayley ended up saying to Iyo that they need to go. So Bayley ended up pulling her luggage, and on her luggage was a picture of Bayley and a pair of scissors stabbing the picture of Bayley in the chest. So Bayley then pulled the scissors out of her luggage, and Bayley and Iyo end up leaving. So pretty much that was that. We're going to get Bayley versus Shotzi, at some point. So that was that. And then we had Austin Theory versus Santos Escobar. And the match itself was just meh, in my opinion. And I'm like, we're getting Santos Escobar versus Rey Mysterio next week. So pretty much this match ended up confirming that Santos Escobar is not winning against Rey Mysterio next week, because Santos Escobar ended up winning the match tonight, defeating Austin Theory. So match started off with Theory and Escobar locked up. Theory backed Escobar into the corner, but Escobar ended up fighting out. Theory lifted Escobar, but Escobar ended up sliding off. He ended up drop kicking Theory down. Escobar caught Theory with that. So Theory ended up getting Escobar in the corner and stomped Escobar down. Theory then connected with a vertical suplex to Escobar, to which Theory ended up going for the cover, and Escobar kicked out. So Theory started taunting the crowd. Escobar ended up coming back and delivered some punches to Theory. Theory then whipped Escobar to the corner. Escobar popped out of the corner and ended up hitting a hurricanrana to Theory. Escobar pulled Theory up, but Theory ended up dropping Escobar with a DDT. Theory ended up going for the cover, to which Escobar kicked out. Theory then put Escobar in the corner, started stomping away at him. Escobar fought back, ended up hitting Theory with the 10 punches. So we had Escobar end up going for the cover, to which Theory ended up kicking out. Escobar ended up covering Theory again. Theory kicked out again. So pretty much, later on in the match, Escobar ended up hitting the ropes. He ended up crushing Theory with a suicide dive. Theory tried to go over the commentary table, but he got hung up a bit. Escobar ended up chasing Theory into the ring. He ended up hitting Theory with a pair of diving clotheslines. So at the end of the match, we had Escobar end up catching Theory, and he delivered a super hurricanrana, which was great. Insane super hurricanrana to Theory from Escobar. Escobar then ended up doing the LWO signal, and he ended up hitting the run double knees to Theory. Escobar followed that up, and he delivered the Phantom Driver to Theory. He ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Santos Escobar ended up winning the match. And like I said, Santos Escobar winning this match tonight proves that he is not winning against Rey Mysterio next week. Rey Mysterio is going to beat Santos Escobar, and then Rey is going to face Austin Theory for the United States Championship. Austin Theory will retain the title, beating Rey Mysterio. That's how the way I see it going. But like I said, WWE made a huge mistake in the Fatal 4-Way United States Invitational match tonight by having Rey win and not having LA Knight win it. LA Knight should have won the match tonight. Should have won that Fatal 4-Way. So then we had the NXT North American Championship on the line. Dominik Mysterio defended the title against Butch. Of course, Dominik was accompanied by Rhea Ripley. Again, why was this match even booked for SmackDown tonight? This could have been shown this upcoming Tuesday night on NXT. We could have had the match then. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here? So the match ended up starting. Both guys ended up blocking up. Butch powered Dominik to the ropes. Dominik ended up taking Butch down, started stomping on him. Dominik ended up locking in a side headlock to Butch. Butch whipped Dom off. He ended up dropping down, leapfrogging over Dom. He ended up dropping down again, and then he ended up pinning a clothesline to Dom. Butch took Dom down, and he ended up bending the fingers of Dominik. He ended up twisting Dom's ear. Butch ended up bending Dom's arm and stomped on it. Dom ended up going to the corner and booted Butch back. Butch ended up quickly coming back with a hammerlock takedown to Dom. And he ended up started stomping Dom's head a few times. Butch ended up snapping Dom's fingers. Then Butch ended up applying an armbar to Dominik. Dominik ended up getting his feet on the ropes to break up the armbar. So Dominik ended up snapping Butch on the top rope. Rhea Ripley then ran over and handed Dominik a chain, a steel chain. And Ridge Holland ended up running down. Ridge Holland then ripped the chain out of Dominik's hand. Butch ended up hitting an X-Plex to Dominik. He ended up going for the cover, and Dominik ended up kicking out. So then, as SmackDown came back from the commercial, Dominik ended up hitting Butch with a slingshot senton, to which Dominik ended up going for the cover, and Butch ended up kicking out. Butch then punched away at Dominik, and then Dominik ended up punching back and applied a chinlock to Butch. And then all of a sudden, we see Pretty Deadly, Pretty Awful. Kit Wilson and Elton Prince came out. Kit Wilson brought Elton Prince out, which Elton Prince was in a wheelchair. His arm was in a sling. And I'm like, this is fucking stupid. Elton Prince's shoulder was in a sling, but his legs weren't hurt. So Butch then kicked away at Dominik, ended up dropping the knee on Dominik's arm. Butch then punched Dominik down, ended up hitting a running kick to Dom's chest. Dominik then ended up pulling Butch throw first into the middle rope. Butch then sidestepped Dominik, and then he ended up hitting a 619 and a double stomp onto his hands. Butch ended up taking Dom down, and he ended up going for the cover, to which Dominik ended up kicking out. So at ringside, Pretty Deadly, Pretty Awful were yelling at Ridge Holland. Kit Wilson ended up attacking Ridge Holland. Ridge Holland ended up shaking it off. Butch ended up running out to attack Kit Wilson. Kit Wilson then ran away, and he left Elton Prince in between Butch and Ridge Holland. So Prince began to look, he was looking like he was going to cry. So Prince was miraculously healed, and so he ran off. So Ridge Holland ended up chasing after him. Ridge Holland ended up chasing after Prince and Kit Wilson. So Butch ended up kicking Dominik back from the apron. Rhea Ripley ended up chop blocking Butch's knee, to which Dominik ended up sending Butch headfirst into the ring post. Dominik ended up pulling Butch into the ring. He ended up going for the cover, but they were too close to the ropes. So Dominik ended up pulling Butch away from the ropes. He ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Dominik Mysterio ended up winning the match, retaining the NXT North American Championship. overall, just a very meh match. We all knew who was going to win the match, but the match should have been saved for this upcoming Tuesday on NXT. There was no need to have this match on SmackDown tonight. So then they announced that SmackDown for next week, it will be back on Fox because tonight SmackDown was on FS1 due to the Women's World Cup. So next week we'll see Rey Mysterio versus Santos Escobar in the finals of the United States Championship Invitational, which we all know that Rey Mysterio will win. And then Carl Anderson will face Karrion Kross. So that's set for SmackDown next week. And then we had the rules of engagement between JEY USO and the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns. JEY USO made his way out, and he was pacing in the ring. Of course, the ring had a red carpet. There was a long table and 2 chairs in there. So then we had the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns. He made his way out to the ring alongside the Wise Man, Paul Heyman, and the Enforcer, Sol Sikoa. So Reigns looked down the ramp and into the ring to see his cousin JEY USO, staring back at him. So Reigns got into the ring with Sikoa and Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman was holding both titles, and Reigns ended up grabbing the mic. He looked around. Reigns held the mic up. He kept saying, "Orlando, acknowledge me." So Reigns ended up maneuvering in his chair. He kept sitting at the head of the table. And that was signifying that Reigns is still considered himself the head of the table. So Reigns ended up asking Jay if Jay still wants to do this, and that if Jay is sure about this. Jay ended up looking a little conflicted, and he kept saying to Reigns, "Yeah, I still want to do this. I'm supposed to do this. You're making me do this because you called the shot." He kept saying that Jimmy's in the hospital. So now I've got to get you, as he was saying to Roman. So Reigns ended up calling Jay Little Jay. He kept saying that Jay isn't going to get him because he doesn't get it. Reigns ended up saying that Jay is just a soldier, a pawn in this game. Reigns then slapped the mic down. He pulled the contract over. So Reigns ended up laughing, and he heard the crowd going, "Uso." So Reigns then signed the contract for the championship match against JEY USO at SummerSlam. So then Jay grabbed the contract. Jay took the contract and ripped it up. Jay ended up saying that they don't need a contract, and this contract is written in blood. He kept saying that this is tribal combat now. So Reigns ended up asking if the elders know about this. Jay ended up saying that it was their idea. He kept saying that tribal combat means anything goes. Jay ended up saying that if he wants to light Reigns up with a stick, he can. Hit him with a chair or put his ass through the commentary table, he liked to. Jay ended up saying that he might even grab that lady's slipper and hit him with it, hit Reigns with it. So Sikoa then put his head down. Reigns then telling Orlando and Jay to shut their mouths. So Reigns ended up saying that this is not his first rodeo, and that he's run this place for a decade now. So Reigns ended up putting the undisputed WWE Universal Championship on the table. He ended up saying that it doesn't mean anything to him. Reigns ended up saying that he wants to fight now. So Jay reiterates that it is tribal combat now. So Reigns ended up slowly removing the lei from around his neck. Reigns put the lei on the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. Reigns and Jey end up standing in front of the table. Both guys end up shaking hands. They put their heads together. Reigns looked into Jey's eyes as Reigns walked off. As Reigns left the ring, Sikoa flipped over the table. He ended up grabbing Jey to deliver a Samoan spike. But Reigns quickly put a stop to that. He stopped Sikoa from hitting the Samoan spike. Jey then superkicked Sikoa out of the ring, and Roman Reigns looked very serious. He looked at Jey Uso, and then Reigns walked off. So Reigns is putting his Universal Championship on the line at SummerSlam, and it looks like he's also putting the title of Tribal Chief also on the line. So it'll be tribal combat for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship between Roman Reigns and Jey Uso at SummerSlam in 2 weeks in Detroit. So Reigns ended up looking at Jey. Paul Heyman looked like he was close to shedding tears. And pretty much that was basically how SmackDown went off the air. Overall, really liked this segment between the Tribal Chief and Jey Uso. Set up for tribal combat at SummerSlam, where the undisputed WWE Universal Championship is going to be on the line. Roman Reigns defend the title against Jey. So it'll probably be a good match between the both of them. That'll be your main event of SummerSlam. But overall, SmackDown, awful show it was tonight. Moving on to AEW Rampage, which Rampage, was a okay show. We had the 20-man Royal Rampage Battle Royal, where the winner will get to face Luchasaurus for the TNT Championship. Then we also saw the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn versus QTV, QT Marshall, Aaron Solo, and Giant TV. And the main event, the TBS Championship was on the line. Kris Statlander defend the title against Marina Shafir, Marina Snorfier. Overall, Rampage was an okay show. I'm not going to spend too much going over Rampage here, but the show opened up with the 20-man Royal Rampage Battle Royal. The winner will get to face Luchasaurus for the TNT Championship. But we saw Darby Allin. He was the first one to make his way out. Swerve Strickland was also in this. Butch and the Blade. Also, Minoru Suzuki was in this. Isaiah Cassidy, Brother Zed, he was also in this. Nick Wayne, he was also in this Battle Royal as well, so it was nice to see Nick Wayne here. Jake Hager, we had Menard and Angelo Parker a part of this. But also, I forgot to mention, Jeff Jarrett was also in this. Why is Jeff Jarrett in this Battle Royal? Can you imagine Jeff Jarrett winning this and getting a shot at the TNT Championship? Can you all imagine that? God, that would have been awful. Jay Lethal was also in this, but it came down to Darby Allin and Swerve Strickland. They were the final two in this Battle Royal. You had Swerve Strickland powerbombing Darby Allin on the skateboard, which that had to hurt Darby pretty bad. He went back first, onto the skateboard. And then they were fighting on the apron. Swerve Strickland went over the top rope. So pretty much Swerve and Darby were fighting on the apron. Darby then speared Swerve off the apron. So Swerve ended up hitting first. Darby did not, because Swerve went over the top rope. So Darby Allin ended up winning this 20-man Royal Rampage Battle Royal. He will get to face Luchasaurus for the TNT Championship. So pretty much that was that. And then we went to the Acclaimed. Max Caster and Andy Bowens and Billy Gunn versus QTV. Aaron Solo, QT Marshall, Johnny TV. QTV is just absolutely awful. Max Caster ended up coming out there doing his rap. It was really funny when he mentioned, oh, it's Harley Cameron, that girl who was in Two Girls, One Cup, which that made me laugh. And that made the crowd laugh as well. So this was a okay match here. Johnny TV started off against Billy Gunn. Billy Gunn, just at his age, he still has it, in the ring. QT Marshall ended up tagging in. QT had a bandage on his back. Billy Gunn ended up hitting a shoulder tackle off the ropes to QT Marshall. QT ended up leapfrogging, and then Billy Gunn ended up blocking the cutter from QT. So Billy Gunn did his suck it to QT Marshall. So Caster ended up coming in, hitting a body slam on QT Marshall. Johnny TV ended up coming in to stop the Sesame Timbers. So Billy Gunn ended up stopping Aaron Solo from interfering on the floor. Bowens ended up hitting Johnny TV with a crossbody. Billy Gunn then ended up hitting the Famouser on QT before clotheslining QT out to the floor. Billy Gunn ended up tagging in as Rampage came back from the commercial. Billy Gunn ended up hitting clotheslines and shots to QTV. Johnny TV ended up blocking the choke, but Anthony Bowens ended up attacking him. Bowens ended up hitting some elbow combos on QT Marshall. Johnny TV ended up nailing Bowens with a roundhouse kick. Bowens got back up. He ended up delivering some back elbows and some chops to Johnny TV. Johnny TV ended up hitting a double clothesline to both Billy Gunn and Max Caster. Aaron Solo ended up sending Bowens into the barricade. So at the end of the match, Bowens ended up hitting a body slam on Aaron Solo. Caster ended up hitting an elbow drop to Aaron Solo. So we had Caster ended up going for the cover. And so there you go. The Acclaimed and Billy Gunn ended up winning the match. Overall, it was an okay match here. Main event was the TBS Championship on the line. Kris Statlander defending the title against Marina Shafir, Marina Shafir. Just absolutely slow match it was. Marina Shafir, she's in the match. You're going to get a slow, boring match here. Statlander ended up throwing Marina Shafir around with a hip lock. Shafir came back with some kicks and strikes to Statlander into the corner. Shafir ended up throwing Statlander into the mat and then ended up hitting a backdrop to Statlander. Shafir ended up locking up Kris Statlander on the mat, and then she ended up stepping on Statlander's face. Statlander ended up getting back up. She ended up raising Shafir up on her shoulders, ended up dropping Shafir on her face. Statlander ended up hitting the delayed suplex to Shafir. She ended up going for the cover, to which Shafir kicked out. Statlander ended up going for the driver, but Shafir ended up rolling through, and she ended up locking up Kris Statlander's left knee with a standing figure four. Statlander ended up kicking her way out of the figure four, and then Statlander ended up clotheslining Shafir. She then picked Shafir up for the pile driver, and then Statlander ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Kris Statlander ended up winning the match, retaining the TBS Championship. So pretty much slow, boring match it was. Kris Statlander retaining, obviously. But overall, Rampage, was an okay show. We had a fun 20-man Royal Rampage Battle Royal, which I thought was cool. The Acclaimed and Billy Gunn versus QTV, it was, okay match. So overall, Rampage, okay show it was. But anyways, that's it for the Smackdown and AEW Rampage review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all later.